All right, everybody, listen up. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. My favorite part, how easy the meals are to cook, and, of course, how great they taste. How about some of these upcoming meals? Crispy wild Alaskan pollock and garlic mashed potatoes with roasted broccoli and tartar sauce, cheesy broccoli baked pasta with crispy thyme breadcrumbs, seared steaks, garlic butter with oven fries and romaine salad, roasted chicken and fall vegetables with cranberry and ginger compote. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you're never going to get bored. Customize those recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options so you can choose what fits your needs. And no weekly commitment, gang, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. It's so easy. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first order with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Here we are. We're back in better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, our final Football Monday. And we'll make it count off an amazing Saturday, which left us with a very clear picture, in my opinion, of the road to the Final Four and left Golic in dismay. Plus,
shut up.
An NFL Sunday in which Tom Brady continues to amaze while his Lex Luthor, the New York Football Giants, sink to an embarrassing new low. All those and more. Golic, how we feeling?
Not great. Not great.
That was a rough one.
It was a rough one. Listen, it was a great cut. You know, you look forward to the 7 ranked teams, and it turns out 8 teams in the top 25 ended up losing. Well, you knew at least 7 it was going to happen with ranked playing. The shame of it was certainly the game I was looking forward to, which was in the exact same field of the national championship game in 2013 when Notre Dame lost to Alabama, and just the destruction that was there. But Auburn and Georgia, I mean, kudos to Auburn, and we'll talk about them and
that was a terrific
and what
game.
They have in front of them. But you sit there and wait for these games, you know, and then 2 of the biggest ones turn out to be blowouts. You know, the Alabama-Mississippi State game, what a game that was.
Terrific. All
the way down to the end. But that's the downside when you look forward to so many games and you want them to be great games. They can be blowouts. And then certainly when the blowout doesn't go in your favor, the team you're rooting for, there were visions of 2013 title game again in that because it was the exact same field for Notre Dame playing Miami. That's where the title game was. It was just a different name then of the stadium. But to see a game that early get out of hand. You know, and you're just like, wow, all that build up, and they certainly build it up as well as should have been built up to have the Miami Notre Dame have a meaningful game again like that. And we'll talk a lot about it, but it was a tough night in the Golic house. Wherever a Golic was around the country at that point, it was a difficult evening.
Yes, those of us who are lucky enough to be on one of your group chats, I was seeing the text flying in, and I just sort of sat back and watched it all.
Entertaining, isn't it?
And there was a good deal of dismay, as you would imagine. And on the other side of it, obviously, everyone knows about our relationship with the Le Batard Show, and those guys are out of their mind.
Oh, you know,
Mike Ryan is out of his mind.
I didn't know Mike Ryan was that big of a Hurricane fan. And listen, they should be celebrating. I was happy I got a tweet back from The Rock, so I was excited about that.
That's nice.
You know, he had The Rock had a nice bet with Golden Tate. Now Golden Tate's got to wear The Rock's jersey when he was at Miami and the turnover chain as well. I'll be wearing the turnover chain. Jeff Fiegels, who I played with at Philly, and he went to the U. His son punted very well. His son's a true freshman punter for the U, punted well in that game. I have to wear the turnover chain, and I have to send Jim Kelly 6 ribeyes as well. But it was interesting.
Not gonna lie to you, I hadn't noticed Miami punted much in that game. Did they punt?
Yeah, Okay, really?
Was there a lot of punting going on?
You want me to get you the number?
No,
it was multiple punts. And the reason I know that, because there were multiple punts inside the 20.
Okay, yeah.
Just like his dad did, Zach was doing as well. So I kept watching him going, you want to root for the kid. I've known this kid since he was tiny, and now he's punting against my team. There's part of me, I hope he shanks it. No, I know. I'm just kidding. I don't want him to shank it at all.
That was quite a job. That was remarkable. It was an amazing college Saturday, and I will go through it because I'm going to see if you agree. I think the roads are pretty clear. The paths are pretty clear.
And I think it was going to get that way. And I think, as we'll get into, I think Wisconsin may be the biggest cheerer of all that Notre Dame lost.
Yeah, I think you're correct. And there's one little thing one monkey wrench that could get thrown into my plan, and we'll see where we get. But in the meantime, let's go off the top here and catch up on what happened. Let's start with some of the NFL action from yesterday. And Golick, you and your Philadelphia Eagles teammates were getting mentioned left and right as Dak Prescott was getting sacked left and right. Tell everybody why.
He got sacked 8 times Sunday. It's the most by a Cowboy quarterback since Troy Aikman in 1991. And Troy was doing this game. It was brought up at the end. In that game, Clyde Simmons, back in 1991 for the Eagles, had 4.5 sacks. Jerome Brown had 2.5 sacks. Mike Pitts had 1 sack. Reggie White had 1 sack. And a guy named Mike Golick had 2 sacks in that game.
How about that?
Yeah. That was, but I'll tell you what a day for Adrian Claiborne, who had 6 of the 8 sacks. One of them, he was dropped off into coverage, and Dak started to run, and he came up and got him right at the line of scrimmage for a sack. But I want to get more into this game and the protection scheme, with Tyron Smith. We talk about Zeke Elliott. Tyron Smith being out. Chaz Green started there. Byron Bell ended up going in later in the game. Claiborne was just wearing them both out, and I don't understand some things that went on and what may go on down the line with this. But man, kudos to Atlanta. Atlanta just absolutely took it to them offensively as well, put Dallas in a situation where they couldn't run as much as they wanted to, because when they ran, they were still somewhat successful running, but Atlanta just, jumped out to that lead.
So it was an interesting game during the game, and also interesting before the game, as the two owners, Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones, were both on the field at the same time, and we will get into that
off the top,
in just a few minutes. In the meantime, the Saints destroyed the Bills in Buffalo yesterday. These were the two teams 2 weeks ago. Everyone was talking about, wow, look at the surprising Saints and look at the surprising Bills. And then the Bills laid an egg on a Thursday night against the Jets and then just got their doors blown off by New Orleans yesterday.
Let's just for a moment understand what's going on with the Saints. Okay, first, kudos to Dennis Allen, the D coordinator, is on his second stint with the New Orleans Saints. They held that Buffalo offense to under 200 yards. That defense has been playing lights out, and that's one of the monster reasons they are where they are. But on the offensive side of the ball, when you ever talk about Saints offense, who do you talk about? You talk about Drew Brees. Yesterday, this team rushed for 6 touchdowns, passed for none, and ran for 298 yards. The New Orleans Saints are the number 3 rushing team in the NFL, averaging 142 yards a game, and a great stat Hembo gave me before the game. What are you built for? We talk about a dome team. Are they built for the dome?
Right.
They are 4-0 outside, plus 87 in points, outside. And they're running the ball with the two head of Kamara and of Ingram, so they can run the ball, so they can be built to do the playoffs outside as well as in the dome.
Remember, this is the team that brought in Adrian Peterson during the offseason, and then it didn't fit at all, and they're running the ball.
The best thing that happened was them not even having him involved anymore to have to worry about giving him carries. Just let these other two guys do it. They are getting it done. I mean, they are absolutely getting it done. The Ingram and Kamara became the third set of Saints teammates to each record 100 rushing yards and rushing touchdowns in the same game. Hadn't been done since Reggie Bush and Deuce McAllister back in 2006.
Breeze didn't throw a touchdown, but he did run for one.
Yeah, he did.
Patriots, and we're going to start with this game right out of off the top, but they went to Denver and just took apart the Broncos in all 3 phases, and I emphasize that, A, because they always do, and B, because in this game, the special teams were an enormous factor.
Yeah, after the Denver answered a New England touchdown with a field goal, Deion Lewis went 103 yards with that kickoff return and just opened up. They had a 27-9 lead at halftime. That's just a position that's very tough to be in because Denver loves playing from ahead. That way their defense can just tee off. And Tom Brady even mentioned that after the game. He said you can't let that defense just be able to run loose, and they couldn't last night. 3 tight ends involved last night. Gronkowski had 4 catches. Bennett.
Martellus Bennett is back and better than ever.
Had the bad wing over in Green Bay and ended up out of there, had 3 catches. And Dwayne Allen had his first catch there, and it was for a touchdown. So the tight ends had 8 catches for 123 yards and 1 touchdown last night.
Off the top.
Elsewhere in sports yesterday, Tennessee fired head football coach Butch Jones. They're 0-6 in the conference this year. Look, everyone knew he was going to get fired. It was just a question of when. So the questions now might become who replaces Butch Jones at Tennessee.
Yeah, Dan Mullen's name has come up a lot, the head coach at Mississippi State, who they almost pulled off the upset of Alabama. Mullen's name is going to come up for the Tennessee job, for the Florida job. He's doing well there in Mississippi State. And actually, my son, in first and last, brought up a good question. And it's a universal question is, what do you want to do? Mississippi State, you win 9 games a year. He said they may build a statue for you over time. You do that in Florida and Tennessee and not be in the mix for anything, you're not going to last very long. So it's what direction do you want to go? But for Butch Jones, it's out. He was 0-5 in his time against Alabama, 1-4 against Florida, 2-3 against Georgia, 2-2 against Vanderbilt. Since the SEC formed, Tennessee has had 3 30-point losses in the same season. Only 3 times. 2 of those have been under Butch Jones, including this season. So
they've been getting work.
Yeah, it's just good. It was going to happen.
Off the top.
And finally, after their convincing win over Notre Dame on Saturday, Miami jumped all the way up to number 2 in the AP poll behind Alabama. That is the highest ranking for the U since 2003. We'll, of course, get the updated college football playoff rankings tomorrow night on ESPN. And in just a little while, Mike and I will tell you what we think.
Yes.
Where we think these teams should fall right now. Let's make that off the top with Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. They'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal even if it's not with Progressive, saving you time and money. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today. And I mentioned the Patriots beating the Broncos last night with the all 3 phases. It wasn't just the kick return. They blocked a punt.
Yes, they did.
Denver muffed a punt.
Right.
So it was really just a disaster. For the Broncos, everything that possibly can be going wrong is going wrong. They've lost 5 straight games, and they've fallen pretty much hopelessly out of everything.
Yeah, they really have. We thought, a lot of us said at the beginning of the season that we thought that there would be 3 teams from the AFC West in this: Kansas City, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Now the Broncos and the Chargers both have only 3 wins. They're 3-6. What a loss for the Chargers that was yesterday.
They find new ways to lose games.
It's inexplicable sometimes of what's going on with them. But the Chiefs, the only team in that division with a winning record, sitting at 6-3. The Raiders second at 4-5. So you're not getting 3 out of there, that's for sure. And with the Broncos, listen, the bottom line is they have quarterback issues. And you could say that about a number of teams in the NFL. What's tough for them and for Bronco fans is you have a really good defense who we've seen play really well. And until you can get the offense to come to the table a little bit more, even though, because they're going to hang on to the fact that they won a Super Bowl leaning on their defense when the offense between Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler wasn't really getting it done. The defense isn't playing to that level, but it's still a really, really good defense, but it plays so much better from ahead, which most defenses really do. But especially when you have pass rushers like the Denver Broncos do, and they just don't have an offense right now that can put enough points on the board to get them in that position.
And bear in mind, their defense hasn't played well either, and maybe they're just kind of packing it in a little bit, seeing the hopelessness of what they're trying to do. But last week was the week, my favorite stat of the week. The Broncos went into their game in Philly last week as the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, and the Eagles scored so many points they ran out of fireworks. They couldn't shoot off fireworks anymore in Philadelphia because they had run out. That's how many points they scored. They scored 51. The Patriots scored 41 on them yesterday, and afterwards, Tom Brady, in typical Tom Brady fashion, talking about all 3 phases.
I thought we did a good job really staying balanced. I thought playing from ahead was really important all night. We played really good complementary football. Special teams played great, defense played great, and then, we just tried to hold up our end of the bargain. It was a great team win. When we play well, it looks pretty good, and it's probably been more uneven the first 8 games of the year, and tonight was, a really good night for us. So, hopefully we can build on this tonight and, gain some confidence, in all 3 phases, which we played well in all 3 phases.
Obviously, Tom left right there to go to a Sprockets throwback shoot.
Oh, did you see? I thought he looks fantastic. I thought he was going for an audition to play James Bond in the next Bond movie.
He does. You could do it multiple ways. You could do that or a Sprockets reunion, whichever way you want to go. But you can't make mistakes like that against New England because New England doesn't make mistakes. Though what they do is they capitalize on your mistakes, and when you're handing the ball to them occasionally, you know that this is going to be the ending for you. And again, I'll say, where are the Denver Broncos at the quarterback position? At some point, they're going to have to find out what Paxton Lynch can do. He's had that shoulder, so he hasn't really been physically ready to go, which then leads the coach to say then he's not really mentally ready to go because he hasn't been out there able to do anything. So at some point, they're going to have to find that out and redistribute that quarterback position.
And our friends at Sport Clips ask us to pick an MVP moment of the weekend. It's brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy. And let's give it to Tom Brady because I saw a statistic that is just ridiculous. We all talk about what happens to athletes when they get to reach a certain age. From the time Tom Brady turned 39 years old, he has thrown 47 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. 47 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And actually, Hembo, put that into some context for us. Over the last 2 seasons, over that span, there have been 9 instances of a quarterback throwing at least 4 interceptions in a single game. 9 times, someone has thrown 4 picks in a game. Brady has thrown 4 picks over that span on 775 passing attempts. Brady has legitimately gotten better. Yeah. There isn't any other way to describe it. You can say, oh, well, no. He's gotten better as he's gotten to be this age, which is ridiculous. And right now, Carson Wentz and Brady, I think, are the 2 leading candidates for MVP of the league. He's 40 years old, and he is 100% one of the leading candidates for MVP of the league.
TB12, man, buy in. TB12.
Well, I mean, it's almost impossible not to at least some degree. What he's doing is unprecedented. It should be pointed out. All of us who said, well, it's unlikely that he'll do this, we weren't wrong, and we have to continue over the course of months. But the reality is he is doing stuff right now that has never been done before.
He's doing it right now, which, again, would have led you to what's going to happen next year. You're not going to have him be your starting quarterback next year, and the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing, you would have had to pay him or found a way around that. No need there. Garoppolo from the San Francisco side, maybe in another few weeks you may see him on the field. Really quick, Brady took over the top of another list. It was his 86th career regular season road win. He passed Peyton Manning for the most by a starting quarterback in NFL history. So he'll have every record. Up the record.
By the time it's done, he'll have every meaningful record. And let's see, the only one I think at this point he cares about is can he add another ring or two?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know why anyone would bet against him or them the way they look right now. So that's one side of the ledger. As I mentioned, his Lex Luthor, has been Eli Manning and has been the New York Giants. The 2 teams, the 2 times they lost in the Super Bowl, they lost both games that I think they were expected to win. They lost to the Giants. They won't have to worry about that this year. The Giants have sunk in consecutive weeks to embarrassing new lows. First giving up over 50 points in a lifeless performance last week at home against the Rams, then going out and playing a winless 49er team and losing yesterday 31-21.
Yeah, it was not pretty at all. San Francisco put up 474 yards against them. I mean, it was just... you've run out of words to kind of describe it anymore. Eli Manning was sacked 3 times in this one. They did rush for over 100 yards if you want to go down that road, but San Francisco ran for 186 yards on them. The one part of the equation that you normally could count on for the New York Giants was their defense. We were just singing their praises last year to the money they spent, the draft picks they had, all coming together. And, man, this was the time. You had Eli at quarterback. You certainly had the receiver in Odell Beckham, and we've seen how that's all gone. But the defense isn't playing as well either. The offense can't really help a whole lot, and the defense isn't really doing a whole lot either. You always say you're in a game because if you had that good defense, but they're not playing that way right now. So it is just – listen, it's fallen apart. We talked about last week the players that are speaking up anonymously saying that the coach has lost it. Others have now come out publicly saying those guys are cowards, and our coach, while there's a struggle, think we can get it back. It's just a mess. I think we all know the end game here. Like we all knew Butch Jones was not going to be the head coach of Tennessee next year. It was just a matter of when. And I would say the same thing in New York. And you never like to call for somebody's job, and I'm not calling for his job because I have nothing to do with his job. But it's going to end there. I don't think that's really a reach to say that. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen. Are they going to do it during the season? We had Shefty in here saying normally things like that maybe start to happen after Thanksgiving, giving it that amount of time. We'll see. But to me, that's the only question. There are two questions. One's bigger than the other. One is going to be, when is McAdoo fired? Is it during the season or after the season? And then the next, or the bigger one, what goes on with Eli Manning? Eli Manning, I think, is going to start the rest of the year unless Ben McAdoo gets fired before the end of the year and they decide we're going to see what we have here. It's going to be an interesting situation. But that, to me, is the bigger question going forward.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to a bunch of sound bites on that. I want to save and make sure that we have plenty of time to get into them in depth because I think there's a lot to it. But you said you've run out of words to describe it. One word that people are using to describe it is quit. People are looking at the effort or lack thereof on that Giant defense. They have given up in their in the last two games, they have allowed 4 passing touchdowns of over 40 yards. They're getting run over. They do not seem to be racing to the ball, giving great effort, all that kind of thing. Josine Anderson got a text from one of those sources yesterday saying, I tried to warn you this was going to happen. There are people who are assigning what really is the nastiest 4-letter word in sports to the Giants right now, and the word is quit.
That is. You get that tag to you as an athlete. There's not a whole lot worse than that. And for some of those guys, and listen, we're not in that locker room. We don't know who they are. You're playing for your next coach. But some guys, because of their contracts, they're going to be around, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. A team is not just going to get rid of them and have all that dead money count against them. So some players, by the draw of their contract, are going to be around. I'm not saying that those are players that people are saying this about, but there are some players who know they're in a different position than others. There are many players in that locker room that are playing for their jobs, that a new coach is going to come in at some point and look at tape and say who we keep and who we getting rid of, knowing full well they have to keep X amount of players because of their deal. Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Twitter reaction, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Marcus Ribcakes tweets, after the 49ers win, the Browns now control their own draft destiny.
Yeah, they do.
The last winless
team sitting at 0-9. You have the Giants with 1 win, the 49ers now with 1 win as well. Still a lot more games to be played.
Stunning,
so we can
stunning
see
number.
How the top of the draft plays out.
And you see the Browns. Did you see the way the first half ended of their game yesterday?
Well, that's what I said. Browns doing Browns things. I mean, when you can't get out of your way, you're creating a lot of – because I agree, the players
They play every game like it's the Super Bowl. They do. They have not quit at all.
And they were in this game. There's no doubt they were in this game.
I thought they were going to win that game.
I really did. And what happened at the end of the half with a quarterback sneak and no timeouts and Detroit doing exactly what they should do, lay on the players.
There was no way that was the play, right? There was no way that was the play they actually wanted to run.
That was the play. No, it was horrible.
Everything about that was just awful. Kevin Westra tweets at us, looks like the New York Giants are definitely tanking. Here's what I'll say. I do not believe the Giants are tanking.
No, I don't believe they are either. They have players hurt, and it's not like they're bent. Well, I know that the coach has suspended some players, but the coach isn't going to do it to put his team in a worse position because he's fighting for his job as well.
But I will say this. So let me get into that then. Louis Riddick, while that game was on, Louis Riddick tweeted, seeing some real-life in-game quit on my TV screen right now. Now, quit is a bad word.
Yes, it is.
Quit is probably the worst word you can associate with a professional athlete or a professional team. It is the reason that tanking should not be tolerated. The one thing that we're going to still disagreeing on is just how big a deal tanking is in the NBA.
Right.
And to me, tanking is no different from quitting. You're supposed to be out there trying to win. And so,
well, no. It's much different. Just real quickly, tanking is an organizational thing. It's not a player thing. What Lewis is talking about is players on the field.
I understand that, but it is organizationally the same thing. It's not trying to win. That to me is
way worse.
Way
worse if you're talking a player on the court. As far as I'm concerned, if an organization is trying to put their team in a position to get a higher draft pick, that's been somewhat deemed acceptable. Players quitting on a field is never acceptable.
Fair enough.
I just want to.
They're not exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I will grant you that. But so particularly not to get as sidetracked as I feel we were about to get.
I didn't mean to. Sorry.
The point is that Louis Riddick is insinuating that players on the team are quitting. Now, I can't sit here and do that. I'm not watching the All-22. I'm not trained to see the things that you guys are trained to see. But even I can see that there are times out there where the guys are running by them and they just seem to be standing and watching. Now, they're not literally standing and watching, but there is an element of just racing to the ball and all the flying to the football and things like that you see in the NFL and on the college level on defense every single week that sometimes it feels like you're not seeing from the Giants.
When you don't see 100% effort or very close to it, then I think it looks like obviously dogging. And as I said before, places that it shows up are away from the play, especially for a defense when you're taught from day one to pursue the football. You start to it's hard. I'm going to try and differentiate here, and I don't know if it's going to make a difference, the differentiation. If a play is coming at a defender, I find it hard to believe that I can sit here and say that player isn't trying when the play is coming right at him. When a man is blocking you or a runner is coming at you, that you basically are quitting and not trying in that instance. Where I see it and where I said is the backside. Is if a play is going right, it's the other side of the defense. Are you sprinting to the ball? And when you're not, that shows up. You know, we see it on film all the time anyway. Even when people aren't accused of quitting, you see a lack of hustle, and it gets highlighted in a defensive meeting. I tell you that much. The same could be said on offense. What are you doing backside as a lineman, as a tight end, as a receiver? You know, are you giving that maximum effort? You're supposed to cut a guy off. You trying to cut him off, or you just kind of throwing a shoulder in there? Are you really throwing to try and get him? You know, if you're that receiver, are you trying to stalk block your guy really well? What if that back cuts back? Your guy make the tackle. That's where I see those things. But to me, I am trying to separate it on the field. If a play's coming at you, man, I find it hard to believe to sit there and say, oh, yeah, in a physical sport, in a violent sport, when a play's coming at you, that you are just quitting on what's going on. Is there less hustle by some? I completely agree that there is. But that's a hard word to use on people in quitting, that's for sure.
Well, if there's one thing, maybe we could soften it to say the Giants do not appear to be giving maximum effort.
Right.
And a lot of people will associate that with the coach. Here's the coach, Ben McAdoo, comments that have been widely interpreted negatively.
We have to do one thing first. We have to take a look at the tape first. We have to figure out what went wrong. We got to address it. We got to fix it. We got to move on. And we'll talk about motivation next week. They're pro football players. They need to be self-motivated. Everybody gets a paycheck this week, and we need to go out and play that way.
So, on one level, that's not arguable.
No,
of course.
It's not.
You're supposed to be motivated to go out there and play. You're a professional. You're supposed to give it your all. But then there's another level that says, if your job as the coach is not to motivate the team, what is your job exactly?
Here's my thought on that, is coming off of why, you sit there and say, what should you say, what should you not say? And a lot of people would say, listen, a few players anonymously called him out. He just publicly called out players as well and say, why are you doing that or whatever. You know my thought on that. If I need a coach to motivate me, I'm in the wrong business. Now, it's nice if a coach can say something that helps you want to run through a wall. I get it. But from what he said, he's right. You should motivate. You should be able to motivate. You should be able, as a professional athlete, to get yourself ready to play a game. a coach motivating you on top of that, to me, is icing on the cake. But if I'm not ready to play a game, there's no way I'm looking at the coach and saying, well, you know what, he didn't really motivate me to play. So now it's whether you say that or not, coming off of anonymous players calling you out. Now, he basically just said, hey, players got to be motivated themselves. You know what this is what we're seeing is the end of something. This relationship is going to end. Every word will be parsed. Nothing's going to get better here, and then it's just going to end.
But you're 100% correct, and I'll take it a step farther. That comment is the reason why this relationship has turned sour. Because Ben McAdoo is the king of pointing a finger at his players. All right? It goes all the way back, and we talked about this at the time when he called out Eli Manning's sloppy quarterback play.
Right.
And Eli rose above it, took the high road, because that's what you do. You don't point the finger at somebody else. Ben McAdoo, in that comment, is taking no responsibility himself. Right? How about, you know what? Yeah, it's all our job or whatever the case is. They're professionals. It's their job to be self-motivated. We'll look at the tape and make the corrections. That is a lot of pointing the finger, which I think the perception in the Giant locker room, if you listen to the quotes, if you listen to what the players are saying to Josina, take out of it the fact that you don't like that they're saying it.
But what they're saying.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But they're not saying it because they're making it up.
No, as we said last week, what they're saying is probably true.
He's throwing us under the bus left and right. And that comment right there is a perfect example of it. They're supposed to be self-motivated. Okay, coach, so you didn't do anything wrong. Got that. Check. Move on. That I think, is the perception that a lot of people seem to have about McAdoo's idea in New York.
So this is a classic example of this team had 11 wins last year, and we didn't hear any of this.
Right.
This is a classic example of losing shows a whole lot.
Yeah.
Losing shows players who feel they need to make anonymous coach, which I think is embarrassing, and it leads a head coach when things start to go bad to point fingers elsewhere. So that's what you find out. As we said, when things are going good, character is not tested. Character is tested when things are going bad, and a lot of people are failing the test right now in New York.
Here's Ryan Clark with his thoughts on Ben McAdoo's comments.
Coaching matters. And when you have a guy like McAdoo, Ben McAdoo, that gets on there and say, you know what, they should inspire themselves and everybody gets a paycheck. He is the prime example of coaching matters because he feels like that's not his job to do, but it is. And when guys do their job the right way, as Lewis was saying, the turnarounds can be quick. He started his tenure throwing people under the bus, whether it was Odell with some of the things he was going through, the off the field and the sideline issues, or Eli Manning not playing a certain way. And he's continued to do that. The thing is, bro, you're in charge of coaching this team. You're not doing your job either. Point the finger at yourself, and now the guys will rally around you.
You know, again, a lot of people ask why can't these people tell the truth? Why can't a player say what he said? I would rather him say it, putting his name to it. On Countdown, I heard Charles Woodson say that he did that in the locker room when he did put his name to saying he thought a coach, was done, basically. But people say, why can't they say that? And people will say, why can't McAdoo say players should motivate themselves? Because, in my opinion, that is true. Players should motivate themselves. As I said, if you can get extra from the coach, great. But you shouldn't be relying on the coach to get you ready for a game. But the reason you don't say that, and the reason you just say it's on the coaching staff, it's on everybody, we need to do it collectively as a team, because now, where this is now, what do you think everybody's going in there and talking about? Nobody's talking about the game anymore. Nobody's talking about what needs to be fixed. Everybody's talking about this. Did you hear what our coach just said about us? And then when the media gets in there, and the media will have every right to do it, that's their job. Hey, what did you think about what McAdoo said? You got to motivate yourself. As opposed to last week when you're talking to other players, what do you think about your teammates being anonymous saying this? And those players speaking out, calling their own teammates cowards for doing it. I mean, that's what you're talking about then. So how bad it is, it just spirals worse. What you're trying to do is you're trying to dig out of a hole. But all they're doing is they all have shovels in their hands and they're just digging the hole deeper. That's what happens when you say those kind of things, which seem like, well, what he's saying is the truth. But there's reasons you don't say it. Everybody should be helping everybody else out of the hole instead of digging the hole deeper.
On we go. The countdown to Amazon Black Friday Deals Week has begun. Start shopping great deals from all departments today. We're Mike and Mike rolling along. Jeff Saturday today. Booger McFarland and all the college. Gus Malzahn off a big win this weekend, and Magic Johnson will join us later this morning as well. Coming up next, we'll explain why there was one football stadium where the action on the field before the game was just as interesting as the action during the game.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 9. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Okay, seriously, almost 2 decades with you guys. I cannot believe it. Anybody that's ever done this job, to sit next to somebody for that long and have it work and be as successful as it has for you guys, seriously, that is incredible. Van Pelt got sick of me after like 2 years. You've both been incredibly kind and gracious. You've always had time for me when I have to ask you, like, is donuts really the best content? And you go, yes, it is. But now with you guys moving on, who's the longest tenured guy in a slot? Oh, I'm the captain now.
Attaboy, way to turn it to yourself. I love that.
Ryan Russillo, for those of you on radio who didn't get to see it, it's very nice of him. Everyone's saying a lot of nice things about us.
Yeah, they are. Well, that's
you
what
stick
happens.
around long enough, they say nice things about you.
That's what happens when it's going to end and you're out the door. Is it going to say nice things? Ryan, it was great years ago. Ryan's a big lifter. Actually, he and my son Mike run into each other at the gym they work out in all the time. But years ago, it was brought up, I think it was about who could bench more, Ryan or myself, and Ryan said him. And then, and they talked about it on air and such, and at one point he came to me and he didn't really apologize with like a kind of, I'm like, dude, you can. You
bench
can
more than
bench
you
more.
or than Mikey?
Me, bench more than me. I said, you could have benched more than me while I was still playing with all my shoulder surgeries. I stopped benching, while I was playing.
But at your apex, you would have outbenched him, obviously, right?
I mean, I don't know what he benched. At my apex, I was probably a 430, 450 bencher right in there, right in that area.
Which is like a good 40 pounds more than I could ever bench.
Right.
So
Brian may have been able to do more than that at some point. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. Sports Center, Mike, brought to you by Sport Clip.
You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Visit Sport Clips. Ask for the relaxing MVP experience, massaging shampoo, hot steam towel, and a great haircut. Sport Clips. Good to be a guy. Do you think your bench press went up during these 18 years we've been together?
Well,
because you've done a lot of different workouts. You've tried a lot of different things.
I one time during our tenure bench press 225, which is 2 plates on each side.
Yes, it is.
For 1 rep. And I had done that once before, and it's when I was in college. So there was like a good 20-something year hiatus.
Where you held your strength.
Between those two.
Right.
Oh, no. I mean, in between there was a major dip.
Okay.
Even at the time that I was working out with Michael Irvin, which has been much mocked, but it was 100% accurate. Michael Irvin and I were workout partners.
You spotted Michael Irvin.
He has been on. No. And he spotted me in return.
Did. I know.
He has 100% confirmed that on our show. I didn't do 225, but as recently as a year ago, I did 225, but I don't think I could now because I haven't been benching lately.
So you've gone up and down with the strength.
Yeah.
Are you in the best shape of your life right now?
Not right now, no. I would say about a year ago I was. I thought
you had a guy you were working out with.
But the golf season came and it kind of got in the way.
So golf gets in. So just another thing that says golf is not really a sport because it does nothing for you cardiovascularly or strength wise.
Right. I mean, it's enormously enjoyable, except for the days that you want to smash your head into one of the stone walls that tend to sometimes line the fairways. But anyway, no, I am not in the best shape I've been in. You are.
Yeah,
you are in better shape now than we were the day that we started it. If there's one thing as we have gone over all this, here in our final weeks and months and whatever it's been, there's been a lot of old pictures and old video and stuff like that. I mean, it is inarguable that you look better now than you did when we started.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
I think that is true. I did go the wrong way for a while. Before I finally reversed it to get down to where I am. Yeah.
The reverse aging process has hit you. Okay, let me quickly get to one thing I wanted to here. Let's make this Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. The first game that we got into this morning was the Falcons dismantling the Cowboys yesterday. And let me very quickly ask you, do you think we learned more about Atlanta, who had been disappointing, or more about the Cowboys, who had felt like they were on an upswing in that game yesterday?
No, I think Atlanta, we seen this out of them last year to get to the Super Bowl. We were wondering where it was. So them doing it, I don't think surprised a ton of people. I think what people opened their eyes to is Dallas still ran the ball pretty well yesterday, but they didn't block well. Tyron Smith being missed at left tackle, and I have some things we can get into on what I saw there and what possibly needs to happen going forward. But I know you want to talk about the owners right now.
That's exactly right, because before the game, and I'm sure by now everyone has seen all the reporting over the weekend, that life has basically in the National Football League become Jerry Jones versus Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones versus Arthur Blank. So those two teams play each other yesterday in Atlanta. It is typically the tradition that the home owner will sort of welcome the visiting owner on the field before the game. They didn't go anywhere near each other. Both were on the field before the game. They didn't go anywhere near each other. And after the game, Jerry Jones was asked about it.
Making too much of Mr. Jones versus Mr. Blank? Or are we making exactly the right amount out of it?
Well, I think Mr. Blank got the upper hand tonight, and I think that's a good place to put it.
Did y'all speak at all?
I never talked to him today.
Is that unusual?
I don't know about that. We don't play Atlanta much, and so I don't know about that. But I don't want to get into that and make anything of that.
Huh. It'll be interesting. Well, interesting where this goes. I don't think it'll be that interesting where it goes. Roger Goodell, I think, is going to get his extension, and these guys, these 6 committee members, are going to get it done with them, and I think that's where it's going to go. And Jerry Jones, whether he's going to serve papers or not, or what he does after that, we'll have to wait and see.
I thought that was fascinating, though. And again, from what I was able to read up on, it is usually traditional that the guy who's in his own house will walk over and welcome the visiting owner. That did not happen yesterday. Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We'll talk football with Jeff Saturday in our next hour, and we will go through the path, the road to the Final Four, if you will, which I think has become very clear in focus. That's next. Mike and Mike.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.